Well, welcome to the podcast. Nathan Newberry here, your host. I got a special guest, Kris Krohn, on the podcast today. He is a well-to-do YouTuber, a well-to-do social media guy, but overall, he's an investor, a developer. He teaches people how to grow wealth through real estate. We're going to talk a lot about some tactics specifically around his origin story of how he got to this wealth, but also some tactics of like how he grew online. So wait until the end. We're going to go over some more of those principles and habits and things that are going to be able to really, really be helpful for you. So stay tuned till the end. If you haven't liked and subscribed, make sure to do that on the podcast today. That's going to be really good. And down below as a free gift for everybody that's listening in on the show, there's a free gift, a full workshop that I created to really give a lot of people some context around how to grow online, to build a media team, to buy back their time. So be able to go get that. We got his book here, Straight Path, the Straight Path to Real Estate. What is that again? I can't even read the small print.
Straight Path to Real Estate Wealth.
Boom. That's his book. Go get that. I'm going to put down that in the show notes as well. But Kris, thank you for being on. One of the questions I ask everybody on the podcast is, what is high performance? What does that look like to me? What does that mean to you? You've led and built teams. Like, how do you see that really kind of unfold in your life?
So there are 4 areas of life that a man would need to operate at a high level in to be a high performer, in my opinion. Normally, it only applies to career, but I don't think that we come into our career or our business unless we're a high performer with God, with our family, and also with our fitness. And so for me, it's like, I got a 6-pack. I've done bodybuilding competitions. Maybe I took it to the extreme, but I've learned how to take this body and master it. So someone could look at my body and say, oh, you're not a bodybuilder for life, but you clearly have performance in your body. And if 1 in 16,000 men have a 6-pack, that's high performance. High performance in my faith means that I actually can talk with God, connect with God, channel the message of God. It's non-denominational. It's not about religion. It's about spirituality, which is there is a higher power. We're here for a purpose. Are you connected to it? And are you living that mission? Number 3, does your wife feel seen? Does she feel valued? Does she feel like you really can emotionally, intimately connect with her at the deepest level possible? Because most women, they don't feel like their men can do that for them. And then if they're not doing it with their wife, they're not doing it with their kids. So high performance is your ability to be able to show up and be fully present for your family. And then lastly, yes, have high performance in your career where you're striving to be in the top 1%. You're the best of the best. You shouldn't be doing anything unless you're going to be the best version of you in that thing that you can be. So those are the 4 areas where I measure that, Nathan.
I love that. I love that you think in systems and numbers, because I think of it the same way. We probably have the same Enneagram and personality type, maybe, who knows? But tell me a little bit about, and so the context of everything here. What is the audience should know about you? How do you serve people at the highest level so people can understand that some more?
I was a college kid many, many years ago, and I thought I wanted to be a doctor. And when I failed at that because I couldn't figure out organic chemistry, I decided to choose a different path in life. I basically decided that nothing in college was going to do me more than make traditional W-2 income. And I didn't want that for my life because I knew I was going to take care of my parents in their old age. I needed to take care of 2 families, not 1. And I also thought it was stupid that a man works for 40 years with 85% of us not liking what we do. So I said, I want to be such a high performer that I want to figure out the game so soon that I just don't have to play it. So when I was 26 years old, I graduated college, and that same year I retired. I had 25 single family homes. They were paying me $155,000 a year passively. And then I just kept multiplying my portfolio, but I didn't need to have a traditional career. And then that's morphed, Nathan. If you look over the last 20 years, today I've got 2,000 partners around the country, and I build their real estate portfolios. I convert their non-performing 401ks and IRAs and home equities, and I put it into real estate where on my last 2,000 properties, I'm averaging 60.65% a year, which means I'm helping my partners make 75 times more money over 20 years than a 401k. So I'm basically an alternative to retirement and a pathway for real financial freedom. And because it's passive, it just works in the background so you can focus on your family, God, career, and the other things that you feel called to.
I think so many people get hung up on making money that they lose sight of themselves.
Yeah. I think, Nathan, so many men, when I query men and say in these 4 areas of life, fitness, faith, finance, family, inevitably they're putting most of their effort into the money game. And then usually they're putting a little of effort into maybe a second game, but usually never a third and a fourth, which means they are 1 or 2 dimensional human beings when we as men are meant to be 4th dimensional human beings, winning in all 4 areas. And so, yeah, they usually are in excess on the money game and they are lacking in other areas of life, hence being out of balance.
How did you end up discovering these for yourself? I mean, bring us back to the very beginning of you. Is this you, hustling as a young kid, and then you realize you're wired a little bit differently than most, or your upbringing where your parents were entrepreneurs? What got you into this really focus of like, hey, I can build wealth instead of doing the W-2?
Trauma.
Okay.
On the 3rd day of college, I met my sweetheart. We dated for 9 months. And then after we got married, she remembered a past life where she was sexually traumatized. And so my first 5 years of marriage, she wasn't available to me like she was when we dated. Stopped holding my hand, stopped dating me, didn't want to hang out, didn't want to do anything. And I'm a full-time student with 18 to 21 credit hours. I'm full-time at my job. I'm also full-time at my business. And so I went kind of crazy with the fact that this woman that I love so much, I couldn't connect with her in the way that I wanted to, and it hurt. So I thought immaturely, I must not have provided something. It must be me. I must be the problem. And so I wanted to check things off the list. It's like, well, maybe I need to be more spiritual. So then I literally pursued God really hard until I could connect and talk to God. And I said, no, it must be my body. So then I literally learned how to turn my body into a weapon, strong and fit and healthy. I said, oh no, it must be my finances. So then I was a multimillionaire in my mid-20s. And so I did these things out of pain. I did them because I was trying to figure out how to be enough. And it would be some time before I reflected back and put it all the puzzle pieces together and realized it's not me. Like, I've done my part. I've made myself a high value, high performing man in every way that I can. My wife just needed to heal from some awful trauma that she had been through. And so I was with her through that, and she healed through that. But along the way, a person's mess becomes their message. And for me, I learned how to be a high performer in each of these areas. And now I lead, a men's group, not just my real estate investors or private equity, but I lead a men's group where men are looking for a brotherhood of people to come together and bond and say, I don't want to be alone anymore. Let's form a brotherhood where we can do it together, where we share our hacks with each other and basically help men rise.
Everybody has those line in the sand moments that, had caused them to shake up their world. Like, you've gone through some of those things. Let me ask you this: in hindsight, would you give that up?
No. Every bit of trauma I'm grateful for. And not only that, but my personal belief as a spiritually speaking, I believe that every single thing we experience that's difficult, hard, and painful, we selected and chose. Like, I don't believe God's like, hey, let's just throw you down there and see, see what kind of shit happens. It's like, no, like, we're here on a divine mission. We have a purpose, and every challenge, not only does God know, we knew it. We just have amnesia and we forgot the thing, which means that when I go into tribulation and trial, I don't sit there and say, dear God, why? Instead, I say, God, reveal why I chose this. I need this because it's reflecting in my life, and because it's a struggle, it is the thing that I need to become strong. So I actually go on a seek out and destroy mission, Nathan. I look for these challenges. I look for the adversity, and I just want to destroy it. I just want to love it so hard, grow it so hard, make it a weakness and turn it into a power.
I think there's an element with manhood today that doesn't have that zeal and passion. They let life pass over them. And they're just kind of like passengers in their own life. They don't take intentionality serious of like how to get serious with disciplines and habits and getting wealthy. And I'm a big advocate for entrepreneurship because I think it's the best vehicle for wealth building and for just growing into that person that you need to become. Because I remember Jim Rohn talking about that. It's like, look at the goals you have. It's not necessarily the wealth that you make. It's the person that you become on this journey of that wealth.
It's true. I don't think it's just men, though. I think men and women. I think most of the planet is unconscious. I call it the zombie apocalypse. We're walking around with people that are going through the motions. They're robots. They're trained. They're just doing what society has told them to do, what their childhood told them to do, what their traumas have told them to do. And people need to wake up. And that one of the purposes of life is going through and having an awakening. And so even though I parade as a real estate guy, I've done $2 billion worth of real estate transacting, thousands of deals. And I give people these financial things that they think they want, but I bring them into my airspace. I bring them into my home. I bring them into my masterminds. And this is where we wake them up to help them realize, who are you? Why are you on this earth? And that's where it really comes down to self-assessment, truth by fire. Where are you lacking, or where are you in excess? And how do we take lack and excess and bring them together into balance? That's when you rise and become a man.
Mm-hmm. I feel like, too, people want to take action on something. They just don't have the guidance to take action on, or they haven't discovered themselves enough to really kind of dive into it. What have you found that limits people from actually having that awakening, or even being able to take action on what they know they need to do?
The biggest problem is that they're just trying to do it themselves. It's like the first time I sat my daughter down with her piano teacher to learn the piano, she cried. She, in her perfectionistic mind, even as a 5-year-old, believed that she should know how to do something she hadn't been taught. That's crazy. And most men and women attack life as a lone wolf, thinking, well, I'm just going to figure it out, or I've got ChatGPT, or I've read a book, so I'm good, right? And I'm like, no. Here's the method. You need to have a blueprint, and you need to have a coach. Like, hands down, those two things every time make the biggest difference. But then you run up against a problem. People don't want to invest in themselves. They have been brainwashed to invest in something like their career, college, because there's a direct ROI. But here's the truth. They don't realize that there's no greater ROI on this planet than when you invest in your operating system. And so it's just like, you don't know how to connect to God. Go find someone that's mastered that can give you the blueprint that will hold you accountable. Take the hand, learn how to do that thing. Oh, you don't know how to see your wife. Do you know how many women are out there, Nathan, that complain, I don't feel seen by my husband. I don't feel seen and I feel alone. And I'm like, I'm right here, babe. I'm right next to you. What do you mean you're alone? It means that you're physically present. You might even be mentally present, but you are not emotionally present. And as a result, you're losing this woman. And if she says over and over again, you don't see me, eventually she's going to grow silent. And that's what happens before they divorce. And so instead of assuming that you just need to know all of this stuff, instead, you need to find guides that will teach you your gaps. So there's a humility, I think, that comes, Nathan, in just recognizing, oh, if I don't know how to do something, I could read a book. But the fastest path to mastery is working with a master, and that's missing.
The reason why I mentioned men specifically is because I think men, I think I remember hearing a study now that there's less testosterone in a guy.
Yeah, there is.
And the best way to get more of it is to be working out. Yeah. Talk about your journey there with being, doing bodybuilding competitions and what that kind of awoken you and helped you with your career.
At the age of 30, men should have their testosterone measured at least annually. And at the age of 30, what you're going to discover is that for the rest of your life, it's going to taper off and you're only going to have 20% of what you need and 10% of what you need. But testosterone is actually the fountain of youth for men. It contributes to sex, sleep, health, the plumpness, if you will, of your organs. And the reality is you can't build muscle without it anyway. And there's a lot of men that are fat. And it's just like, they're trying to lose weight. Stop being a chick. Chicks go on diets. Dudes, go to the gym and put muscles on your body. Muscles eat fat. Like, figure it out. Stop losing, start gaining. You need to put on 10 to 20 pounds of muscle. The other part of that is so that you can actually be a protector. Like, we are bred. This is our most emasculated, like group of men, generation we have ever had before. And yet, when you look at your body, take your shirt off. What is it going to reveal? Your commitment and your discipline. My 14-year-old goes and works out with me every single morning. And I asked Daniel, I said, Daniel, why do we work out? He says, Dad, number one, to protect people. I said, who? Just your wife and your kids? And he's like, no, Dad, everyone that needs protecting. Good. What's the second thing that you need? He said, we go to the gym to become mentally strong. Because if you're lifting the right way and you're having personal bests on 75% of your lifts every single week compared to what you did the week before, then it takes a mental toughness to learn how to do that. So when my son started working out with me, he was a whiny little bitch. Like, he was weak, like, Dad, this is really hard. And I had to teach him, this is how we rise and this is how we become a man. It has to be modeled, it has to be shown, and there has to be accountability.
When you talk about marriage, I want to get your take on this, because I think there's 4 roles of a man that's really similar to your 4. You got to lead, love, protect, and provide. Lead, love, and protect, and provide. And I think the cornerstone of that is providing, because it's like a wife can't respect you if you're not making that much money, or if you don't have enough money, you're going to be in the slums of somewhere because you don't have enough money to protect your family, and all those different areas. When you got into real estate, why take that path than anything else? And how has that kind of helped forge your marriage with that?
Well, so think about this. Your most valuable asset. Look at what I got in front of me here. For those of you that are actually watching the video of this podcast, I've got, a few $100,000 of cash here. And this money that you're looking at, this isn't the prize. When you're old, you would trade any amount of this that you have for more time. Time is the most valuable asset. We say it, but we don't actually mean it. So when I was in my early 20s, I had a telemarketing job. So I'm going to school full time, and this telemarketing job sucked, but it had a gift. And the gift is that I was talking to people that were all the same demographic. This avatar had been to college 30 years earlier. They were now in their mid 50s. They had all 401k'd, IRA'd, they were all fiscally responsible, and they were trying to pay off their house. Well, every day I talked to several of these people, and after the course of a year, I talked to a couple thousand people, and I started basically putting together some averages of what it's like to be a 55-year-old that's financially responsible that went to college. Here's what it revealed. Today's numbers right now, not then. The average person at retirement has $254,000 in an IRA or 401k or qualified retirement funds. They're living off of $90,000 a year, but in 40 years, they only saved $254,000. So they don't even have 3 years of retirement money. You worked for 40 years and you have 3 years of money. But then if you take a look at the equity in their house, they have $304,000 of equity. They weren't doing that on purpose. Their equity, which is an accidental net worth growth plan, is bigger than their intentional 40-year plan. And that's when I got my hands on the numbers and I said, we're all screwed. You go get a degree and you go W-2 for somebody else. You're self-employed making the same kind of money as a good paying W-2er. You're screwed. You'll never make it. That is literally 15% of what you need. $1 million in retirement, for example, annuitized with a financial planner, is going to make you around $2,500 a month. But you're used to $90,000 a year. So you're telling me that you're going to cut your income down by 60, 70%? And the answer is yes, that's exactly what you're going to do. I knew that in my early 20s, Nathan. And so because of that, I said, okay, I need to do it smarter. Do I need to make more money? You have two choices. Become a high performer that makes more money, or you learn to make passive money. Well, at my job was 100% commission. I made $18,000 my first job. I started learning high ticket sales. And 4 years plus whatever later, I was making $135,000 a year, but my real estate was paying me $155,000 a year. And so my real estate, that $155,000, I did not have to work for. It was literally zero time. My job was full time. And that's when everything clicked. Not only is my passive income, well, let's just say they're equal. It was slightly more money than my job, but one takes time and one doesn't. And once I figured that out, I said, I don't want 25 homes. I want 100 homes. I want 500 homes. I want 1,000 homes so that I can be free. And so true freedom is not making good money. True freedom is having your time back as well. And at the end of the day, I've owned private jets. I have a 35,000 square foot house. I've traveled 50 different countries around the world. And I've given most of that up because I'm a minimalist now. 2 years ago, I almost lost my daughter to suicide. We checked her in. It was one of the most traumatic moments in my life when she took all of the pills at once. I drug her ass to the toilet, yelling and screaming in a way I would never talk to a woman with a voice I'd never heard come out of me before. I was terrified. And I yelled those pills out of her body. She threw them up. I traumatized her so badly, but I would never be the same again. And that's when I started asking what actually really matters. Being a high performer was really a season in life, so that I could learn skills and abilities, gain assets, so I could convert them into something passive so that I could actually live the life that I want. One that is not governed by a 40-year career and someone else's dream. That's not the game.
Let me ask you something that I've been pondering in the last few days. You talk about faith.
Faith.
Yeah. Okay. There's a parable, or actually not a parable. Jesus talked about it to his disciples like, hey, sell everything you have and go come follow me. That's a big ask. That's a huge ask. With everything you have right now, Talk about that.
Well,
What does that mean for you?
There was also a young man that came to Christ and asked, I've followed all the commandments from my youth on. What lack I yet? And then Jesus said, sell all that you have and come and follow me. And the man walked away disheartened and sad because his wealth was great. But I read a different book called the Book of Nemenhah, which is also an ancient record from Native American Indians about a personal visitation they received of Christ after his resurrection. And in the Book of Nemenhah, Christ recounts that passage and he alters the meaning from the translation we have. And he says that the man went away sorrowful, not because he had great riches, but because he learned that the riches he had acquired was not with an eye single to the glory of God. It was for his own gain. And so I think all of us have to ask, why are we doing what we're doing? And we have to answer the hardest question. What do you want? I've learned in the last 2 years that 2 private jets and a 35,000 square foot home and making millions of dollars is nothing to me. Living in a small condo, a bedroom, a bathroom, a kitchen, and a living room, and experiencing the love of my life in the smallest of ways, dancing to a song, going out for a simple meal, putting a puzzle together, feeling super deep connection. That's all the wealth that I need. It's all found in the really small, simple things. So a lot of us are struggling in the game of excess, Nathan, where we can't answer the question. Here's a good one. How much is enough? And if you can't answer it, it means that when you do more, you'll equate money with success and you'll equate success with more. Well, that's the ego speaking. And you can never get enough of what you don't need, because what you don't need will never satisfy you. But unfortunately, most men can't figure this out even in their 60s and 70s. And so they lost balance their entire life when they were supposed to invest in their health. So they could have gained an extra decade. They should have invested in their relationships so their wife didn't leave them or live with a really shitty marriage. And they could have been a better father. These things are out of balance when we seek excess.
There's so many examples of people that have been world denting, like Steve Jobs. But on the other hand, they haven't had the balance. They lost health, their family, their marriage. It just was all lost. I think there's both examples like you're talking about is so important. How can people get clear on that though? Because I think the identity part is a big component of identifying that.
Yeah, well, I don't really believe in judging others, but I do like assessing their behavior to ask what's right for me. Mm-hmm. And so like when Elon Musk, is working 120-hour shift, but he's got, kids all over you hear some of these stories. I don't really know what's true. I can only know what's best for me. Mm-hmm. And this is why one of the pillars is faith. And I'm going to define it different than most people. A lot of people, especially my churchies, they're going to say, well, I go to church on Sunday, or I pay my tithing, or I keep the commandments. And they're like the young man. I think instead faith comes down to one thing. It's not your church telling you what to believe. It's you talking to God and figuring out what's real. Revelation. If your life depended on it, in the next 5 minutes, could you ask God any question on the planet and get an answer? And 99% of people will say no. But what I do is I actually teach people how to meditate, connect to their higher self, and then bring in deity, talking to Heavenly Father, Heavenly Mother, Jesus Christ, the people you worship, those ascended masters, calling them into your existence, asking questions, and being able to listen so carefully that you can channel a conversation back and forth out loud. There's no more valuable skill on the planet than I own. If someone comes to me and says, hey, if you could go back in time 20 years and keep one thing, would you keep your wealth? Would you take your track record? Like, what would you keep? And it would be one thing. The knowledge that I have received from learning how to connect with God through meditation, to ask questions, to receive answers, and to live in the space of conversation. That's how you answer this question. That's how you keep yourself from the pit so you can keep moving to the next peak.
As being a high performer, though, I mean, that takes time. And sometimes that's hard to kind of sit in those challenging moments or deal with situations that you don't want to, or you're reading the Bible or you're praying. How do you kind of apply that to your life? Because you're a fast-paced type of guy. Like, how do you end up taking a moment to actually do that? Because that's not easy.
Well, first of all, I think one of the most important skills we'll ever cultivate in life is presence. People that are human doers instead of human beings, they get so caught up in what's next and what's the outcome. And did I make this sale? And did I make the money? Did I buy the investment? Did I do the thing? And it's like, I'm sorry, but did you realize that your baby girl was trying to show you a picture, the stick figure of you and her, of you guys at Disneyland that she remembers? And you just said, oh, that's nice, honey. And you went right back to your text. And the greatest wealth was literally right in front of your face. Were you present enough to put everything away and to literally let go of the past and the future and drop into this moment? I took my little girl to Disneyland, my first of 4 children, when she was 5 years old. And it was a nightmare. I drug her from airport to the thing, to the ride. And, as a 5-year-old, she still had her terrible twos in her a little bit. And I was forcing all these memories. And after 2 days, I finally got home exhausted and I was tucking her in at night. And I breathed and I realized, I don't think I connected with my daughter once. I have all the pictures at the rides. We enjoyed the cotton candy, but did we connect? And right then and there, I looked in her eyes, this nice long pause, something that she and I have done our whole life. And then I speak after I connect with her soul and I say, I see her spirit. And this big tear starts rolling down her cheek. And she says, Daddy, I see your spirit. And in that minute, not 2, 3, 5, or 10, in 1 minute, I created more connection than I did 2 days at Disneyland. The wealth of life is found in being present, which means surrendering and letting go to the moment.
That's unique. I think when I'm looking at like business success, I think that there's something to be said about that. I think it's a big one.
Well, you think about the late Wayne Dyer said that what was important in the spring of our life will be different than in the fall or the winter of our life. And so one of my personal belief systems is to be ahead, which means I'm always looking at the next season asking, who will I have to be in the next season to self-actualize, to have peace, or to feel like I did it the right way? Well, then I need to start cultivating in that in this season. And so I sometimes think about my deathbed. I had a near-death experience when I was 19, almost drowned in the ocean trying to save my sister's life. And the experience left me with all of this anxiety and motivation for wanting to make the most of every day. And so I used to be very non-present, just hurrying and hustling, bustling, and trying to figure everything out and building and growing and becoming famous and rich and whatever. But when I think about my end of the life and I think, what do I really care about? I know I won't care about the bank account balance. I know I won't care about what I really leave behind. My health will be used up, which means there's really only one thing for me: the memories that I made. And it will not be the memories that I made in the past 3 months. It will be the memories that I made my entire life. And non-present people can't make enough of them.
Why did you shift into being online then? Because, I mean, that's putting yourself out there quite a bit. What's your focus or impact there that you want to make?
A guy really liked my seminars. And he's like, I think that you'd be hot on YouTube. And I'm like, nah, I'm not going to do it. And he's like, let me just every 90 days, let me come to your house for 1 day and I'll film enough videos so we can drop 1 video every single week. And so I said, fine. And we did that for 2 years and it wasn't really getting traction. And I'm like, dude, I don't think I want to do this anymore. We made this 1 video and it got like 5 million views on our space and it blew up and social took off. And social's been a huge blessing. It's actually been like an ultimate marketing machine for me, because in most marketing games, you've got to pay money for TV and radio or for, direct mail and paid ads. I'd done all that. But in this game, all I had to do was open myself up and share everything I knew without ever holding back. And I knew that I was helping probably 1,000 people for every one person that would come into my ecosystem to become a client. And so there was something about that exchange, Nathan, that actually felt sacred. Like this microphone. I feel like if you have a microphone and you can talk to more than one person at once, you have a sacred responsibility to use that time wisely, or else you're not worth listening to. Well, social media, I got millions of views last week. My team measures it. Millions of views, millions just on Facebook alone. And we're on all platforms. That's a sacred responsibility. And so for me, at one point in my career, like social was just a great marketing strategy. But right now, more than anything, it's a way to reach people, touch people, and influence people. And I'm more happy about the clients that never become clients. I'm more happy for those that maybe they watched me one time, heard just one line, it did something useful, and just helped them move on with the next step of their life. And then I have loyals that for years just watch everything, and that's cool too.
Has that generated a lot of wealth for you too? What do you think about the
Eight figures, 8 figures every year for the last few years? Yeah.
Since I've been online, I've seen the reach. And the reason why I do it is not because I care about social media at all. It's like, it's almost like a bane of my existence in a way, but I see the leverage. I see the impact that it can create, like you're talking about. So I think, the Bible talks about, it's like, be in it, but not of it. It's like, I don't have to personally consume it to be a part of it,
Well, and it doesn't run my life. I literally am in studio today on Monday, and now I'll be done shooting media really for the week. And I'm going to get along with my life. There's a lot of people that just live and breathe by, did I get views, make more, hold my camera, make something new? And it's just like, geez, for me, my life is about one word: balance. And so like for the last 6-7 years, I haven't worked more than part-time. I won't. I think if I work on average more than 20 hours, I feel suffocated. I think that it's very unhealthy that we have people working 40 to 80 hours a week. That's what creates the imbalance. There's not enough. They're overcommitted. They're not fulfilling on their obligations. Their integrity is in the poop chute. They're literally not doing the things that they commit and promise to do. They're losing the faith of their wives and their children by being this way. And it takes some real fortitude and training to develop a system to become balanced in all the 4 main areas of life and to do well. So I do encourage people in their careers to become high performers. I encourage them to master that game, because masters get flexibility. And flexibility means maybe it's not about retiring, but it's not about working 80 hours a week. For me, I don't have to work. Why do I work? Because I believe in my work and I love my work, but I limit it so that I can have balance with God, my family, my health, myself.
Mm-hmm. But tell us this strategy for you of like how you balance doing the social media stuff and all the stuff you do in your business. So you were talking about how you're batching a lot of the content. What does that day look like?
My buddy, almost 6 years ago, my buddy fell out of the sky. He was paragliding and he died, and he left his widow and 4 kids behind. It was very traumatizing. And it was my third buddy I lost that year. He was 38 years old. And he was one of the top 100 YouTubers in the world. And I remember after the third, this hit me so hard. And I just said, Kris, you're wealthier than him. And yet he spent the last 9 months of his life not working and just being a family man. And yet, why can't you give yourself that permission? And so I created the ultimate schedule for myself and gave myself permission to live it, which is I go into the office 1 day a week and shoot videos. I work from home on Tuesdays and Thursdays. End of story. And I've been following that now for the 6 years. It brings me into balance. And so as far as social goes, I do it in batches. I don't live by it. I literally have my team. They're marketing experts. They know what people are listening to. They study and measure the crap out of everything. So on Monday when I come in, then we basically perform, a few longhand pieces. Essentially we'll shoot a couple of YouTube videos, longhand, a podcast, and we're done. And then I just shoot some specific marketing videos. Altogether it probably takes 4 or 5 hours. And then I'm done for the week. Now my team will batch it out, cut it up, chop it up, syndicate it, put it on social, post a couple hundred pieces across all platforms a week, and get millions of views. So there's a system for everything. And you're right, more than a real estate guy, more than a whatever guy, I'm a systems guy, because a system is how you organize yourself to put in the least effort and get the biggest outcome.
Yeah. How did you build the team around you though? Are these contractors or people that are on your team that are not mercenaries, but they're more missionary type of?
No. I mean, it's a combination, but I've got a core team that helps me do everything. They're people with a mission. They believe in my mission and my message to the world. No one's allowed to work on my team that's just a W-2er that actually doesn't care. And so they have to fit the culture. And then we're smart and intelligent about that. I've got a CEO that runs everything for me. One of my biggest breakthroughs that new business owners need to have is that if you want it done right, you shouldn't do it yourself. You should go find someone that is an expert in that space and have them do it. Most business owners, you are either an owner, manager, or an artist. You should learn how to distinctly understand what is artistry, the person that performs fulfillment, the manager that is in charge of people and the owner that owns the whole thing, and figure out who you are. I'm an artist. And once I figured that out, I fired myself as a manager, and I was no longer the president and CEO of my company because I suck at it and I don't enjoy doing it. And I hate doing it, actually. Now, when I make videos, I'm an artist. Right now, talking to you, I'm an artist. The few other functions that I perform, I'm an artist. When I'm not being an artist, I'm out. Why? Because I know who I am. I know what I'm supposed to do. And I know what takes me off mission and off purpose.
Mm-hmm. I love that distinction, man. I think so many times people feel like they have to learn to run at all. And I think, like you're saying, I've seen a lot of more people hire those positions out to kind of run some of the day-to-day stuff that we're not the best at.
If you want something done right, don't do it yourself. That is one of the core beliefs that serves me as a business owner and a high performer. If you own a business and you're listening to this, 80% of your money comes from 20% of your effort. The moment you realize that and you start writing out a list of the 10 activities you do in your business, and there's only 1 or 2 of them that make you the real money, you should drop emailing, meetings, management, accounting, all the other stuff. Just do that, and all of a sudden get back 80% of your time. And you're going to freak out. You're like, oh my gosh, I walked away from 20% of my income to get 80% of my time. And then all you have to do is raise your standard. Your highest activity pays you $2,000 an hour and the lowest is $15 an hour. Tell yourself, I will never say yes to anything again unless it pays me $2,000 an hour on up. Now the universe has clarity, and it will deliver those opportunities, and just go play and have fun and be with your family. And then when those opportunities at that level arise, you say yes. Now your income grows, the time trade is worth it, and you also have the money to pay other people to do all of the things so that you can be supported by good humans and not be stuck doing the things you don't like doing. Who wants to live that life? No one wants to live that life.
Yeah. How much of AI are you leveraging and doing with your team? Has it been a big component of what you're doing?
Yeah, you're stupid if you're not. Like, it's so freaking intelligent. I give it impossible tasks and then it manages them. It's only gotten smarter in the last 2 years since it's been released.
Yeah. I know for me, I've forced my team. I said, hey, your job is, leaving in the next 6 months if we can't figure out how to adopt. And it's been really interesting to kind of see what the tools and systems and processes that we've been able to create and bridge.
I think it was hard at first for people, Nathan, but now everyone's using it and they're used to it. Like the other day I was sitting down and I created like this 3-page prompt on this impossible story problem. And then I'm like, and I've been working on this one for 2 years. I can't solve it. I put in the longest prompt and then I said, now solve it. It did. It gave me an option that I had never thought of. It is so freaking intelligent. So people need to evolve. And if they're not using it, they're not evolving.
What can business owners today create and build that you think is really important to do outside of real estate game? Being online, do you think that's the biggest path for people today to be able to share their expertise online?
No. This is where revelation comes in and connecting to God. Like everyone, we can solve every problem on this planet if people will just do the thing that they're called to. The Greenpeace lover that wants to save the whales and pull all the plastic out of the ocean, we need that person to do that thing. Like we are one organism as a human race. And so I don't want to answer the question as the one thing that everyone should pursue, because what I would instead say is become a man or woman of God and learn how to ask questions and listen and receive information and then live your purpose. If we will all just live our purpose, we solve all of the problems of this planet.
I agree, man. I agree. What can people, do to connect with you further and learn about the real estate game? Because that's a huge wealth builder and vehicle that I think most of the time people forget, or they think that's for someone else. Or
everyone should own real estate. Just buy the book and buy the numbers. The reason why people don't is because they're scared of it and they think they have to become landlords. For example, my purpose is to build your portfolio so you don't have to. And all you have to do is say, hey, my 401k or my IRA is earning me an average of 4 to 5% on my money. That will be meaningful in 4 lifetimes. That won't become meaningful after 40 years of maturation or compounding. So I need to do something smarter. On the last 2,100 properties or the last decade, I'm averaging 60%. So now you have an alternative that makes you a lot more money. And so I am an example of someone that can help do that for you. I partner with people 50-50. They put up the money, I do all the work, and then we split all the profits and we just keep growing it. It's a great model. I make you a lot more money than you could on your own, statistically. So it's a good game. Games like that exist. Someone could, Nathan, go to freewealthgift.com to ask for a free game plan or learn about that. Freewealthgift.com is where you can access some of my books for free. It's where you can learn about my men's group, or you just want to see where I'm at on social media. If you just want to, if I'm a personality that talks to you and connects with you and makes sense, freewealthgift.com will open up a lot of tools and resources.
What I love it, man. I'm going to put all those links down below for everybody to take and click and go follow Kris. He's a cool guy. What else should they know? What else is missing here that I forgot to ask you a question about that's really tugging on your heart?
You're a great interview, and you've asked a lot of really meaningful questions, and I've appreciated being on your podcast, Nathan, and answering them. Let me just search my soul for 1 second here and just kind of check in on what's resonating right now, because there's going to be a future listener that's going to click this and they're going to be looking for something. I think the last thing that's coming up for me right now is to just let you know that regardless of your belief system, you're a child of God. You have infinite worth and you are precious and priceless. You're going to meet people like me that are more successful than you, and I'll meet people that are more successful than me, and it doesn't alter the value of your eternal soul. You are here on the planet at this time for a purpose. You're going to participate in ecosystems like this because you're looking for hacks to be successful and to make more money. But I would encourage you to pit stop on the inner work. Because when people want to make more money, it's actually releasing trauma from their childhood. It's facing the people they can't forgive. It's taking care of their body in the gym. It's righting wrongs. Those are the things that clean out this vessel, this temple, and this system, so that when it's time to perform a function of making money, you can actually do it with far greater success than you would otherwise. So I just want you to know that you are worth it and that I see you. And for what it's worth, I love you.
Love it, man. Appreciate you for doing that last call out for everybody, man. Go follow Kris. He's a cool guy. Down in the description, there's a bunch of links there for us to help you and serve you in any way we possibly can. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode.